Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a former statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. This is college basketball Saturday, December 16th. Cousin Jared, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I was on twice this week, and I just felt gypped with the slate that I had to work with. And so I demanded that I get to come on and pick some games that people will actually want to watch. And so here we are.
That is 0% true, but it's a nice story for the viewer. Jake is a little under the weather, and the other thing is we're having some weird timing issues. You may have noticed we took a Thursday night for Friday's games off again here. The timing of everything with Mrs. Professor, on bed rest in the hospital. So no changes there. Everything's still kind of just ho-hum. We're just kind of waiting for something to happen. But it is kind of creating some complications with timing of everything. So we're recording really early on Friday here. So you might be getting this sooner than you're used to. In fact, we can't even talk one bit about any of the games that have happened on Friday that we had picks for over on Dub Club, because the only one that has started is not even halfway through the first half yet. Nothing else is even tipped. So we can give you a recap for Thursday, which was we split our plays of the day, side of the day, total of the day, split those still with a nice 16% ROI there. Went 2-1 on the free show picks, and the A grades went 3-1. So still doing okay overall here. I've been thinking about maybe just doing a recap once a week, maybe like on Sunday night or something too. I don't know. It feels every time on the recap, it's like a couple games here, a couple games there. It seems kind of weird, but either way, we'll always hit the season metrics in, even if we skip it. Who knows how Friday went? Of course, hopefully it went well, but otherwise, again, if you want to join us over on Dub Club, there's your QR code, $5 off your first month, and lock in current year pricing as prices go up in January. Like they do everywhere, I guess, because that's inflation. My groceries cost more now too. So hopefully we're making you money. Hopefully you check it out and help me pay my bills while my work is doing all this stuff here, and hopefully providing good content. Again, we have a great retention rate over there because we provide a lot of information, a lot of value, and hopefully you're finding value in that. All that information, because in Jared, we got a ton of college football bowl picks on that show we've already done.
Yeah.
We did the NFL show already. There's more NFL picks over on Dub Club. And there are, I believe, 58 grade picks for Saturday right now. There's probably a few more coming tomorrow. So there's a lot for everybody. If you want money line favorites or dogs, if you want point spread favorites or dogs, if you want overs or unders, if you want team totals, whatever you want for Saturday, we have got you covered over on Dub Club. And you get $5 off your first month if you use the sign up link in the show description. Cousin Joe, did I leave anything out?
Well, I was just going to say we're getting to that time of year where making sure that you get all your college basketball plays in is feeling like a job. So
Saturdays, yes.
Yeah. And so, we're just be prepared, everyone. We're reaching that time of the year.
I haven't even done all of mine yet. I took some time here while we were prepping for the show, and I got about like a third of them in. But yeah, it started, especially shopping around, and obviously they're not paying me anything. But an app like BetStamp or there are other things out there you can use that kind of aggregate, so you can kind of see who has the best price. Is keeping. Yeah, it's a lot of just going from window to window and screen and document everything. It's just kind of
it's a lot.
It's a lot here, and it's only going to pick up. But usually it's a lot of fun. With all these picks and a good time over on the Discord chat as well, which you can get through Dub Club, and ad-free shows along with the extended cut. So a lot of benefits. But otherwise, we'll get to it here. Cousin Jared, noon Eastern, LSU and Texas. This game's being played in Houston, and another big game right after this that we're not covering on the show, but we do have an A-grade play on for our people over on Dub Club in Texas A&M and Houston. Will also be played after this one. Both of these are being played where the Rockets play. Neutral site game. In general, I do expect Texas to have a few more fans there. Not that the LSU fans don't travel to Houston, but Texas just has, I think, more alum in Houston, so it'll probably be a little bit more Texas heavy, but it'll be pretty close to neutral with regards to, fan base. Obviously, Texas, the better team. They are favored. They should be favored. What we're going to talk about instead, though, is the total. And Cousin Jared, it is possible we can pick under. So we're going to go under 143.5 with a B grade. Model says 141. Neither one of these teams wants to push the pace. Texas is better on defense, and their offense can kind of disappear at times. LSU, much better on defense. We have talked a lot about the better college basketball is going to lead to more points because of the change in the rules and because of the extra year, extra eligibility, etc. And that's still true relative to previous seasons, but there is a time when some of these games where the sports books have caught up / maybe over adjusted a little bit. I don't think this gets to be an average game. When you look at the strength of these teams being defense and no pace, obviously anything can happen in one game, light fouls, etc. That's what we always talk about. We're responsible with our units. And again, as we mentioned, our confidence comes in the totality of picks, the process, the model, larger sample sizes, not one game. Nobody knows how one game will go. Perfect example, Thursday Night Football. Not a single person in the world would have 42 to nothing or whatever it was at the half, right? Weird things happen in one game. The confidence comes in the totality of picks, and on average, this sets up to be a slightly lower scoring game than average. That makes under 143.5 worth an investment. B grade pick, Cousin Jared, tell us more.
Yeah, so here's my thing. LSU has played some up-tempo teams this season, and their defense has been good enough to keep those teams from going under. And their offense, definitely, like relative to the competition that they're going to play in the SEC and the competition here against Texas, their offense is not that great. So you talked about the Texas offense going MIA every once in a while. I'm sure there's somebody that you have cohabited with throughout your life that might drive a little bit crazy. But yes, they tend to do that. LSU, same thing to an even worse extent. Their offense can really go through some worse times. But man, look at those defenses. Texas number 17. I don't think their defense gets enough credit for what they do night in and night out. And then LSU, definitely relies on that defense with some of the issues that I just talked about with their offense. So add into the fact that this is a neutral site game, and you're not going to really get that full advantage for either team one way or the other. I think that helps us out here as well. We talked about some of the early season non-conference games where it's just, some of those invitational tournaments, like nobody cares. We're just going up and down the court. We're having fun. Basketball's back. This is not one of those games. I don't think. This is like, hey, we're getting close to conference play. We've got to buckle down. This is one of those big opponents we really want to we want to win. We want to get rolling going into conference play. So I think that holds the scoring down a little bit as well.
And it's, of course, not to say that some teams aren't trying out things. I remember this is about the time last year Baylor was still going through an identity crisis where one game it was like, let's slow it down and play defense. And the next game was, let's go up tempo. They didn't know what they wanted to do about this time of the season until they kind of finally around now figured it out and then had an identity going forward. So there are still teams trying to figure it out, of course. But, as we get closer to conference play, some of these teams have already started conference play or it's just around the corner. This is when you start kind of, okay, we're kind of starting to get our rotation. We're kind of starting to figure out how we want to play, how fast we want to play, that sort of thing. And so, it's not quite as carefree. Let's have some fun and figure some things out. At this point, you better have figured it out. And you're just putting the final touches on it. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. If you have anything to say, you gave this out for us as one of our totals of the day back on Wednesday as an under with LSU playing. And so I don't know if you have anything to add there, but I mean, you correctly identified that with Alabama State LSU, with that one being too high. And the same thing kind of here where you're like, hey, this LSU team should go to, and that one the model projected 80-58 and the final score was 74-56. So LSU even fell short of the model projection, and Alabama State was 2 points short. And obviously, again, we're talking about projecting average games versus who knows with one game, but that game didn't even get close to hitting the number. And so this seems like you've kind of identified this with LSU as a under type team, I'm guessing.
So definitely because the overs have been so good this year, and a name like LSU, you think, okay, and you see their pace, average offense, above average, you think, okay, well, this is going to be a team that's going to benefit from those new rules, but that has not been the case. So one thing I can say is that when I lose a few times on a team, it doesn't take me long to catch on. And I lost a couple of LSU overs early in the season. And that kind of became the point where I was like, okay, well, if Sideline says play the under, that's a pretty strong signal to me, because the overs with them aren't good. Like, for example, if we ever get to the point where Sideline says play under in a Liberty game, I am going to just put all of the units on a Liberty basketball that says under because Liberty overs have not been good. Anyway, so LSU, anytime you see Sideline say under, it's a pretty good indicator.
All right. Moving on to 3 p.m. Eastern, Clemson and Memphis. Battle of paces here. Clemson, wants to slow things down. Memphis wants to speed things up. Of course, of note, Memphis wants to speed things up way more than Clemson wants to slow them down. Last week we had Clemson and the over against TCU. and that did not work. Memphis, a little bit maybe faster than TCU. We're going to try it again here with an over 150 in this one. The Clemson over last Saturday specifically didn't work, but we had a Memphis over either the same day or right around then that did work. So Memphis is, to me, more of the driving force here. But the bottom line is that both these teams are pretty good, are pretty evenly matched. Clemson's offense is better than Memphis's offense. But, with Memphis, pace, should drive this. We talked about the home team has a better chance of driving the pace. The fast team has a better chance of driving the pace. We think over 150 makes a lot of sense. This game's more likely to be in the 150s than the 140s. Because, Jared, of all the B grade picks here, you're able to identify a few of them in some of the bigger games. Why did this one jump out to you?
Memphis seems to me to be one of the and we talked about this all season about the faster paced teams kind of being able to bring up the slower paced team. Memphis seems to be one of the teams that's especially good at that. Every Memphis game seems to play out in a very similar manner in regards to pace. And I think that, you're really accenting in that instance what Clemson's good at offensively, because the more possessions that Clemson has, the more you're going to be able to see from that number 35 ranked offense that they have. And to your point, I like the point that you made there. We talked about the Texas LSU game being a neutral site thing. Playing the game at Memphis, I think, clearly gives them the edge as far as setting the tone and the pace of the game. Once the crowd gets into it, they'll be wanting to go up and down. I have a feeling Clemson will be the same way once they kind of get into it. So don't let that really low pace rating for Clemson give you any pause here. I think that is going to be taken care of by Memphis. I think they're going to make sure this game goes fast, and that's going to accent the Clemson offense.
Yeah, that Clemson total we were talking about 1 week ago, that was the last time that they've played. And in that game, the total missed by, a handful of points, about 10 points or so. But of note, I think, Clemson still has gone over more times than under this season. Memphis, the same thing. I think it's interesting, too. Memphis has played all of 2 home games this year. And of course, both of those were against non-comparable opponents, Alabama State and Jackson State. Obviously, they're a class ahead of them. They put up 90 against both those. But the thing I want to talk about isn't that they scored 90, because when you're a top type program, top tier, top whatever, top 50, top 100, whatever, like Memphis is, you should put up 90 at home against Alabama State and Jackson State. But I want to talk about, they allowed 77 to one of them and 75 to the other. And so obviously, again, that was a little bit earlier in the year. You can make whatever excuse you want, but the only 2 home games they've played, they have really dominated the pace. Clemson may not be quite so susceptible on being sucked into the pace, but Clemson's offense is so efficient. If Memphis is playing fast, not getting back on defense, allowing quicker looks or whatever, like you said, Clemson's going to say, hey, great, let's take advantage of it. They can obviously hit a lot of threes in a hurry. And so Memphis here, we think at home, able to drive it to their type of game. Doesn't mean they'll win or not, because Clemson, again, more overs than unders, is very happy to play in a shootout type game. Their offense is better than their defense, so that wouldn't bother them one bit. And then to the game that everybody is talking about, Arizona and Purdue. And
see, I'm so used to covering these crappy games that I wanted to sense the sarcasm in your voice there and thought we were about to talk about St. Thomas. But no, it really is a game that everybody's talking about.
Yes, absolutely. This game is in Indianapolis, so I'm giving Purdue half home court edge. They've played a few games at whatever they're calling wherever the Pacers play now. I can't keep it straight. And it'll be more Purdue fans, of course, but it's still going to be a fantastic game. Sideline has Purdue as the slightly better team, but not by a ton. And you can just see on the screen there, these are 2 absolutely legitimate national title contenders. I don't really think there's much else to say about that. Purdue's pretty average on pace, and we've talked about it before with them for the most part. They don't really want to play fast. They can. Other teams are trying to speed them up to try to take Edey out of the game, because otherwise it's really hard to beat them. You have to do what Northwestern did, which is, make twice as many threes as your opponent while shooting the same number of them. That sort of thing happens. Like, sure, you can pull it out, but otherwise, if you play a half court game, you're not beating Purdue without that sort of type thing. Arizona does not want to do it. They want to run as fast as possible. You can see their pace, according to Sideline, number 4 in the country. Cousin Jared, I mentioned it last week. I said, hey, Arizona feels like they could put up 100 against anybody, even a good defense like Wisconsin. They did. They only put up 98. I don't think they're going to get to 100 here against Purdue, but that feels like they can put up 100 against anybody with this team. And Purdue's offense is actually better, according to Sideline, at least with regards to the efficiency, not points per game, because, of course, Arizona plays such a fast pace. But this should be a great game. I think the bottom line to me is this just boils down to everything we've talked about all season long, which is when the offenses get really good, the defenses cannot keep up. It's almost like the NBA, whether it has to do with age, experience, rules, styles, practices, trying to get to the NBA, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. But the best offenses are better than the best defenses. And these are some of the best offenses, the best defenses. And that's going to drive the points up. The possessions are obviously going to be there because Arizona's playing. And so Sideline says 163.3, that makes over 158.5 an A grade pick. Cousin Jared, as long as this number's in the 150s that you can bet it, I love it. Once you get to the low 160s, I'd still be playing it over because I really think there's a good chance this game gets into the 170s. I kind of think the winner of this game might end up around 90, but you are losing a little bit of value in the 160s. But in the 150s, to me, is ridiculously low. This is one that I have to imagine gets bet up. So this is a cyber run, don't cyber walk to lock this over in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously a fantastic game. I don't have much to say. I don't know if I have seen so many single digits on a page, since we've started doing college basketball this season. Purdue and Arizona both, the defense is so good. But when you have offenses like that, what are you going to do? The rules are such now, especially with some of the rule changes, that, it's all about offense, just like NBA, just like NFL, just like everything else. I am very intrigued by this game. And you mentioned Arizona speeding it up, potentially to the not exactly what Purdue wants to do, not exactly how they want to play the game, but Arizona also has the 4 7-footers on their team. So if there is any team that can throw some stuff at Purdue, and specifically Edey, that a lot of other teams can't, it's Arizona. So not only do I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, getting up and down the court, and appointment television, I also think that Arizona is going to present some challenges to Purdue that maybe a lot of other teams can't. So just, I think, a great game all around. Definitely, this is like, there's not very many college basketball games, especially before we get into the new year, where I'm just like, I need to be in front of the television watching. But this is one of those that I will be doing my absolute best to be watching this live.
And your attention, of course, is going to be pulled away. You got an NFL game at all 3 time slots, and then all the college football bowl games. And then this one's like, you kind of want to see what's going on here, because it's not just the quality of the teams. It's not just the fact that we expect this to be a competitive game, but there's points, which is just the cherry on top, as opposed to a game, old school, the Virginia type, whatever, where it's like, it might be the best teams, but if the total's expected to be around 120, you're kind of like, I might lose attention to this. This should just be up and down, hard to catch your breath, specifically because, as we talked about, Purdue's just ability to play faster this year and roll with it and not be slowed down by it, as opposed to, times before where they're going to do their best to slow it down. Arizona is going to just pedal to the metal and try to get this into a shootout. And they've been pretty successful in doing that all season long. And it's not like Purdue's going to have a hard time scoring, as good as Arizona's defense is. So we're expecting a lot of points, over 158.5, a great pick, which takes us to our recap screen. And a reminder, if you want to join us on Dub Club, you can see the picks for those 3 games there listed, those late games, along with, again, I believe it's 49 more A-grade picks as of now. I'm sure there will be more in the morning. You can play them all. You can play some of them. You can play only the overs or only the unders or only the favorites or only the dogs. There's something for everybody, and a ton of great information over on Dub Club. Not only the extended cut, the ad-free version of the show, and all sorts of other goodies, information, metrics, along with the Discord chat, which is a lot of fun. So a lot of reasons to be over there on Dub Club. Sign up today if you haven't, and lock in 2023 pricing and get $5 off your first month if you use the link in the show description. Cousin Jared, parting words before we have 60 seconds of music and come back and talk about 3 more games.
You need to be on Dub Club so you can get the extended cut and see what random small school game I've decided to talk about today.
And it's funny, of course, you mentioned that at the start of the show. That's usually when you're on here with a short slate. It is insanely random small schools. But all the options possible on Saturday. So your hand wasn't quite forced like it usually is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here comes the music again. Sign up on Dub Club if you aren't yet. Check it out. Give it a try. See if you like it. Hopefully we see you in 60 seconds.